Okay, let's start with the planning cycle of the Early Years Learning Framework version 2.0 explained. Now, when you start, we start with the observation. We observe the child or the children. How do we observe? We observe by seeing, listening, collecting information. Also, what do you know about the child or the children? For example, if a child is new, you don't really know the child. So you are going to go and have a look at that application form or the enrollment form. You're going to look at the enrollment form, and normally on the enrollment form there are things like what is the child like? What are the activities they like? And I'm going to talk more about that in a later video. Once you've made your observation, then you're going to interpret, you're going to analyze or assess. These are all words that are used in the Early Years Learning Framework. Assess, analyze, interpret the learning. And educators normally draw on their knowledge, or they look at the expertise of the children or the child, and they use input from families and other professionals, and also educators talking amongst themselves. Maybe you're a new educator and you don't really know the child, but another professional or another educator can give you input. Or the child is under a specialist or a doctor and there is some report or information about the child. That all falls under assessing. Once you know all that information, you are now going to plan or design. You're going to plan an activity for the child. Let's give an example that the child is playing with blocks. They are playing with Duplo. Now maybe for your next activity, you will plan Lego, for example. So there is where you come in as the educator to plan and design that activity. Once you've got your plan and you've prepped everything and you're going to now put the activity out, it's called implementation or enact. You're implementing now. And once the child has played that day that you have programmed that for that child or that group, you've implemented it, you're observing how they are playing, you are going to evaluate. And you're going to evaluate and critically reflect. This is just a broad overview. There is much more to this planning cycle, but just to kick off the planning cycle and to give educators an idea of what the planning cycle is all about is observe, number one, assess, plan, implement, and evaluate.